Hey team, thought I'd make a little video on my MPC Live II and my Headrush looper board and how I use them together when I'm creating one of my own songs to play live. So you can see down here, I've got my Headrush looper board, and then up here I have my Akai MPC Live II. I'm just doing a little bit of work on the two of them to make sure that they can work nicely together. I'm currently putting together a song that I released 3 years ago called Where We Belong. So predominantly I loop this song on my Headrush, but I wanted to incorporate some different elements from the studio production that we did into the live setting, and that's where the MPC comes in. With the MPC, I can create what's known as a sequence, which means that I can have various different samples coming in at different points that I can trigger as I go through the song. If you have a look in here, these are some sequences for a song I've put together previously called Temporary Happiness. And you can see it's all broken down into, I call it a false start, intro, verse 1, chorus, blah, 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 blah. So that at any point I can jump between any of these sequences at the push of one of these buttons over here. The way that I use the Headrush with the MPC is I will, on my loop station, create a template with a set number of bars at the BPM in which I want the song to play back at, and I will have one track that is already loaded up with that tempo. So when I hit start on that track on the loop station, it sends the MIDI data to the MPC at the correct tempo. So when I play my song live, it means I have a lot of flexibility as to how I play my song. Now, typically, I'll still go verse, chorus, or whatever the structure is. Maybe I want to sing the chorus twice because I'm really vibing the song, or I want to have a bit of a sing-along at the end. Unlike a backing track where it's set in stone the whole way through, with sequences on the MPC, I can jump around different sections of the song that I've created beforehand to have a lot of flexibility when I play it live. Here's a quick demo of how I might start the song. Over here you can see I've got my one track, it's set to 105 BPM, and so what happens is when I hit start, that's going to trigger the first sequence in this song, right? Watch, I'm gonna hit start, we go start, and over here it's playing back. As you can see, so it's currently playing through that first sequence, which is a 2-bar thing just in here, right? And at any point at the end of that sequence, I could jump, say, to my live sing-along up here. If I push this button, it's gonna go at the end of the bar. Ready? So the reason I do this is so that when I'm playing live, my loops are going to be in time with all of my samples and things like that from my studio recordings, and it means I get a really nice big sound out of essentially what looks like one guy and a guitar, but the MPC is also doing a lot of the work trying to make that nice big studio sound. The way I use sequences on my MPC is almost the way I use my loop station. I treat every single sequence as one loop, because when it gets to the end of that sequence, unless I trigger the next one, it's going to go back and loop it around and keep playing it, which in some cases is really, really handy. If I build in a sequence on my MPC that then gives me time to actually live loop stuff on my Headrush, it means that it's just going to keep going in the background until I tell it to go to the next sequence. When I was originally looking into an MPC and how to create my sound live, I really didn't want to just have a standard backing track. I didn't want to use Ableton, I didn't want to use a laptop, and I still wanted to have that flexibility of being able to compose my song live, being able to perform, basically. I didn't want to be locked into a particular thing. Using sequences on my MPC has allowed me to do that, and creating custom patches on my loop station has meant that I can preset, say, the beat, the rhythm, the tempo, and have it all ready to go so that when I hit start on my loop station, it's going to trigger the MPC at the correct tempo, have it all ready to go for me. I have various different loop selects. I can get Norm, I Need You, Await, Sync, Temp Happy. There's a few more ones as well, just with various different routing options and things like that. But I am working on Where We Belong at the moment, and so I will select that one down here, and then it takes me straight to it. The beat's loaded and ready to go, and that's all good. Let's say that there's a song that you're not using your MPC for, but you're still using your loop station. As soon as you hit start or record on your loop station, it's going to send that data to your MPC and start whatever sequence it was at before. So it's a really good idea to either make sure when you're writing your set list that you turn it down, or have a blank sequence with nothing on it so that it'll keep playing back essentially nothing. It'll think it's playing, but there's no audio coming out of it at the same time. The Headrush looper board is acting as the MIDI master, and the MPC Live II is acting as the MIDI slave. Something that took me a little while to figure out when I started using the MPC Live II was how to get the sounds to stop when I stopped my loop pedal. What would happen initially is I would hit stop on the loop pedal and the samples on the MPC would play all the way to the end. There's a really easy fix for this. I had to figure it out myself, but I'm going to tell you now because I wish someone had told me. Once you have assigned all of your samples to your various buttons so that you can just push them and do that sort of thing, right? What you want to do is you want to go main, you want to go warp and master. And what that'll do is down here, it says sample play. You either want one shot, note on, or note off. They are your three options. If we go into this one here, you'll see I've got it set to note on. If I push any of these buttons, they're only gonna play the sample when the note is on. The reason you want to have your sample set to note on means that when you hit stop, it immediately stops because the note has stopped. If you go into one shot, then it's just gonna, as soon as you hit that button, it's gonna play all the way through to the end. This is the grid for the various samples that are being triggered. And as you can see, they essentially just look like lines. That means that the note is on the whole time. So if I just hit start, ready? But then as soon as I hit stop, we haven't got to the end of the note, but the note is now stopped, so it's off. If you wanted to, you could do some very quick start-stop type action. Ed Sheeran's been known to do this quite a lot, where you can just very quickly... Essentially, you're starting and stopping your loop pedal, but it's triggering the MPC at that time. So you can see down on the loop station, let's start, it goes green, and then we hit start. We do the start and stop again. That's the most useful thing that I have found personally when building my songs in the MPC and using it with my loop station, is to set it to note on so that at any point you can stop it and it's going to stop straight away. Your samples aren't going to keep playing past that point. If you have any other questions about how to MIDI sync devices or things like that, how to use your loop station with an MPC, maybe how to create your own song using samples, feel free to drop something down in the comments and I will do my best to reply. In the meantime, have a lovely day. I've got some more work to do building some stuff over here, and I'll see you later. Cheers.